some useful insights and, dare I say, inspiration from today's speakers. So, to set the scene, let's begin with our national anthem.
Kosigeleli Afrika, maluphakanyiso pondolwayo, izwa imithandazo yethu. Kosigelela thina lusapho lwayo, murena buluka sitshaba sayesu. Ufedise dintwali matshwenye, usibuluke, sitshaba Yesu, sitshaba South Africa, South Africa. Eindhoven onze hemel, diepte van ons Heer, ons ewige geberdes van die kranse antwoord gee. Sound the call to come together, and united we shall stand. Let us live and strive for freedom in South Africa, our land.
And thanks to Nozipho Mthoba from the Amakhoana Singers right here in Alexandra and Sandton for that amazing rendition of our national anthem. Of course, we do have loads of exciting things happening over the next 2 days, but before we get into the housekeeping, please put your hands together for our awesome sponsors. A massive thank you to our gold sponsor, who, fun fact, has been sponsoring this very event since its inception 7 years ago, and also a regular winner at the Top Empowerment Awards for their incredible dedication to transformation in South Africa. I'm talking about Nedbank. And then we have our distinguished silver sponsors that have been doing incredible work in the transformation sector. They are Avbob, Hollard Insurance, Merchants, IDC, the University of the Free State, as well as Nemesis Accounting. Another huge thank you to these organizations, which, as you know, without their support, an event like this one would not be possible. So again, thank you to all our sponsors. We appreciate the support and the hard work. We've got some great prizes up for grabs over the next 2 days. A special thank you to Avo by Nedbank. They'll be giving away 5 1,000 Rand vouchers. Avo, of course, is South Africa's first super app where you can shop until you drop. Make sure you head over to the Nedbank Expo booth, and there you'll stand a chance to win one of these vouchers. That's at the Nedbank Expo booth. Now, Nedbank will also be giving away 2 tickets in order for you to enter the Nedbank Golf Challenge, which is taking place at Sun City. To win, you just need to retweet about the 2 panel discussions hosted by Nedbank on both day 1 and day 2 of the conference using the hashtags, which I'll provide for you very shortly. Take a screenshot of your Twitter posts, and don't forget to submit on the Nedbank virtual booth chat section. The virtual booth chat section is where you can do that, and the winners will be announced after the conference. Don't forget to do that. It's a good prize. I love it. Over the next 2 days, delegates with the most social media engagement posts on Twitter can stand a chance to win one of 2 1,000 Rand Take-A-Lot vouchers, as well as 2 duffel bags from Mandatory. These are the hashtags. Use these following hashtags. It's hashtag Top Empowerment, hashtag Transformation 2022, hashtag Green is the New Gold, hashtag Nedbank. There is, of course, a live Twitter feed because, it is 2022, a live Twitter feed that will be running over the 2 days that you will see popping up on the bottom of your screen. Actually, you can see it right now. So let's do our best to get Top Empowerment 2022 trending. I see some tweets have already started coming through at Top Empowerment. I'm within is one of them. We're all within and super excited about the day's proceedings. But yeah, keep them coming through. And of course, we'll engage with them as we go through the program in between the various speakers as well as the panel discussions. So make sure you also visit the virtual phone booth. You can click on the link that pops up in the chat feed and make sure to share your pictures on social media and tag us. Anything we can do in this virtual environment just to get a sense of where we're all at, get to know some familiar faces or become familiar with each other's faces. There's some shots coming through there. Delegates looking excited to be here. So really looking forward to your engagement in all the chat segments and do take part in any interactive activities. So make sure you visit the expo booths. Make sure you take advantage of the networking functions because that's what we are here for after all. And make loads of contacts, please, and ask lots of questions in the chat box as well as answer the polls. We really do value your engagements, your insights as well. Have a wonderful day, everyone. And with that, it's my absolute pleasure to introduce you to the CEO of Topco Media, the creators, of course, of this awesome event. Welcome, Ralph.
And welcome to the Top Empowerment, and incredibly welcome to Nedbank. So I'm sitting here in Cape Town in our beautiful offices, and I'd love to ask the people in Southern Africa side of the audience to please show their appreciation with a huge round of applause for our host partner, Nedbank. So thank you for giving us that love in the chat and sharing where you're from. Thank you for that. So now what I want to do is I want to ask everyone, including all the ministers and the guests from around the world, everyone, can you please put your hands together for our partners, Nedbank for Merchants, Avbob, Hollard, IDC, UFS. So it's really incredible that so many of you have joined us from all over the world, including my wife, Hayley, and our 3 sons, Ethan, Sebastian, and Oliver, who are joining us for the first time, along with my mum and dad, and they're in France. So incredibly welcome, guys. We have over 5,000 signed up attendees today at the Top Empowerment. But in total, if you include the staff, media, contractors, and partners, everyone, it's well over 5,000 people from more than 30 countries who will be joining us on Hopin for the Nedbank Top Empowerment Summit over the next 2 days. And you're all going to meet so many incredible people. No doubt, just sitting around you virtually right now are brilliant entrepreneurs, executives, academics, innovators, investors, policymakers, and more from all over the planet. And networking lies at the heart of Topco events. The Nedbank Top Empowerment is all about networking. And in a moment, I'm going to ask you to virtually stand up and introduce yourself to people around you. Yep, you just have to connect with 2 people. You go to the People tab, so you use the search functionalities on the side there, and you can go by name, by company or designation, and just connect with 2 people. So now you've done that, congratulations. And so in the next 2 days, we'll be having time to use the networking feature. It's our version of speed dating. I'm sure you've all been on it. I challenge all of you to do at least 10 networking sessions per day. It's a minute of your time, and it's really going to open up so many opportunities. So now, there's lots more time for chatting, networking, meeting, and you know that using Hopin networking feature, you can do what we have just done now to absolutely anyone at the Top Empowerment Conference. You can say hello to my friend here, Theo Beloy, Dr. Matthews Pozza, or Anel Bosman. It's the most powerful tool we all have at Topco events. My one tip, tip for the day, is connect your profile with links to LinkedIn. This will help you find your friends, your colleagues at the Top Empowerment. So much, I promise you. So, get your phones out. I know they're all there. Get your phones out and share your digital badge. Last year we had 1,000 shares from these digital badges. Can we beat that? It's up to you. So let people know where in the world you are right now. Share on your favorite media platform. So if it's Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook or Twitter, that you're at the Nedbank Top Empowerment Summit. It really will help you find friends you didn't know who are here. So, Top Empowerment started in 1999 as a simple idea back when a publication called Impumelelo and we had a forward from our inspiration, Nelson Mandela, and it was really conceptualized in partnership by President Cyril Ramaphosa and my father. And it had a really simple aim, really, and that was to showcase the success of black company owners, entrepreneurs and managers, as well as progressive organizations in industries both new and old. And we printed more than 30,000 publications then. So, you know, when I look back earlier today, I look back at some people we first showcased 22 years ago, and it's crazy. The ascendancy of some of the business people like Bandang Mahali, Patrice Motsepe, Sizwe Naksana, Saki Makazoma, Gloria Sarobi, Sidi Makabudi, and Wiseman Nkulu, they were all profiled in the publication. So as keen followers and supporters of good business, which aligns to our purpose, Topco's purpose, of inspiring the world to do good business, now in our 8th Top Empowerment Summit, we're going to share key insights of transformation, and we're very proud to be partnering with Nedbank, IDC, UFS, AFBOB, Hollard Merchants to become the largest gathering of transformation leaders in Africa. So in a moment, I'm going to give you a very special group of people, and I want you to give them a huge round of applause to this special Topco team and Nedbank team who worked tirelessly year-round on the Top Empowerment Summit, and to the well over hundreds of contractors, temporary staff, sponsors, partners. A huge round of applause, please. Congratulations. So, you know, why are we here, and why are we here at the Top Empowerment Summit? And so for me, this is a really important part of this event, is that we're here as an inflection point. And I think it's a kind of inflection point that comes around once in a lifetime. And really, I feel that the economy is at a tipping point. And because of bias, discrimination, social unrest in places like KZN last year, we have massive youth unemployment. And we really have got a lot of governance issues like the Zonda report and xenophobia. It's really deeply, deeply concerning. But on the other hand, there is so much good and opportunity in Africa. And we really are at a turning point where we can turn things upside down. Everything that we thought certain about work, society, politics, and life on Earth. So some of the things are these exciting partnerships between business and government, these innovations and new solutions, investments into SME funds, skills development programs, and change in policy towards education. It's only just the beginning. So my question for you is, what acts can you personally do now to contribute to positive transformation? So on centre stage today and over the coming days, African leaders, CEOs and others will talk about the promise of equality, entrepreneurship, education, funding and economic empowerment. They're also going to talk about its shortcomings. And so more than 50 speakers will also take us onto a deep dive across 10 specific session spreads right across this huge Top Empowerment Summit to inspire you and to drive action. So now at Topco, you must know by now, we like surprises. And our next surprise, a very special surprise, we are launching the inaugural Topco Mentor Me app. So it's going to help you connect with the top empowerment minds in South Africa. Thank you and enjoy today. Thank you.
What made me start farming, it's my parents. We used to farm at home. I saw it as an opportunity whereby I can make a living out of it. You can imagine a young girl from a rural area not having any idea about how can I grow in this institution.
Vuwani is a deep rural area. There are lack of job opportunities. We started Buhle Farmers Academy because we wanted to develop farmers and also to start farming businesses where people can live out of farming.
Buhle trains us and we got all the skills, all the information. They gave us all the support that we needed.
For these projects to take place, it needs to be funded. The Nedbank has done that. This funding that coming from Nedbank was for the farmers in terms of grants for them to buy inputs and to start. So we have seen that growth that they wouldn't have reached if there was no partnership with Nedbank.
Creating jobs, it was one of the dreams that I wanted to develop.
We have seen almost 336 jobs created. For one person in a rural village, usually support about 5 or more people. It means more than 1,200 people are sleeping with their stomachs full. The impact goes beyond the project beneficiaries. Vuwani as a village has changed. Bembe as a district has changed. Limpopo as a province has changed.
I have no words to thank Nedbank for what they've done to me, my career. The words that I can share with someone who wants to start farming is that you must be brave enough to take risks and you can conquer this world and get opportunities.
People must change their mentality now, not to look for jobs, but also to create their own jobs. Not just for themselves, but even for other people.
Well, thank you so much, Ralph, for that rather inspiring introduction. He set the scene so well. I think you get the tone of the next 2 days. The fact that, yes, we are at an inflection point as a country, but perhaps there are so many opportunities in that if we just view it the same way. So we need people of tenacity and grit and vision during this time. On that note, it's my absolute pleasure to welcome our next speaker, the Minister of the Department of Human Settlement, the Honourable Mamoloko Trifosa Kubai, joins us to talk to us about this subject matter, and the topic is the promising future for housing development in South Africa. Looking forward to hearing her insights. Welcome, Minister. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Program Director. Let me greet Topco Media CEO, Mr. Ralph Fleischer, Captains of Industries. Ladies and gentlemen, greetings. It is a great pleasure for me to be given the opportunity to address this year's Top Empowerment Summit. Occasions such as this one gives us an opportunity to reflect on how well we are doing in transforming our economy towards making it more inclusive and equitable. In recognition of the inequality in which our country was trapped for many years under minority, the democratic government adopted policies through which the wealth of the country could be shared by all. Prominent amongst these policies is the broad-based Black economic empowerment. Our progress in implementing transformative policies shows that we have achieved different levels of success in each sector of the economy. But overall, there is a sense that the pace of transformation has been slow And in the last 3 to 4 years, it seems to be grinding to a halt. As far back as 2017, an economic ownership study indicated that we've seen regress in Black ownership from 32% to 27%, with financial, property, tourism, and agriculture not at all meeting their ownership targets. What was even more worrying was the fact that in 2019, Black ownership was below 50% in every sector of the economy, with agriculture as the least transformed sector at a meager 12% Black ownership. Moreover, the transformation process will never achieve its objectives without the deliberate mainstreaming of women's emancipation. According to the 2019 UNDP Human Development Report, South Africa ranked 93 out of the 162 countries in the Gender Inequality Index. Many studies have also found that though women comprises 51% of the population, they do not enjoy equal opportunities compared to their male counterparts and are underrepresented in every sphere of the formal economy. Given an opportunity, women are just as capable as their male counterparts, and the scourge of irrational gender discrimination has to stop. There is no doubt that the slow pace of transformation has been a source of social discourse and mistrust among South Africans and business players. Our dream of creating a non-racial, non-sexist, and stable democratic society will remain unattainable unless it is founded on a more equitable economic foundation. Transforming the economy is not only just, but it is the right thing to do morally and otherwise. It is encouraging that amongst the various sectors, construction and property were deemed to be showing promising progress in transformation at 48% and 42% respectively. It is worth highlighting that the most fundamental transformation that human settlements have undergone is the disruption of the apartheid special development, whose central driver was racial and class segregation. This configuration relegated the majority of South Africans to places far away from the workplace, with no access to basic services, and where it is difficult to access social amenities and participate meaningfully in the economy. Ladies and gentlemen, in parallel to the special transformation, the transformation of the sector with regards to the important issue of the participation of the previously disadvantaged in the development and growth of the sector always requires attention. I have just opposed these two necessary transformations precisely because I think it is critical that our measure of transformation in the human settlement is more holistic. The two transformation issues that I've raised are interlinked because special transformation deals with economic participation by the previously disadvantaged communities. A transformed human settlement will necessarily bring the majority closer to economic activities, thereby improving upward mobility and economic empowerment. Our persisting challenges of poverty, unemployment, and inequality are in part the effect of our skewed special development. This is a clear demonstration that the configuration of the special development, which regulates who is included or who is excluded, is an important determinant of social, political, and economic outcome. Social housing is our most promising program as the human settlement that will help us disrupt the apartheid special development and make our cities more inclusive. The primary purpose of social housing are urban restructuring and regeneration, and increasing the supply of rental housing in good locations for low to moderate income earners. There are still some barriers to the development of economically viable social housing projects, and prominent amongst this is the lack of availability of well-located and affordable land for social housing development. As a result, some projects have started to shift away from the centers of the economic activities, leading to failure and defeating the purpose for the social housing program. In response, government devised the rapid land release program of government-owned land in well-located areas. In this pieces of land, government will hasten the provision of bulk services so that these areas can quickly be developed for human settlements. We are looking at releasing about 14,000 hectares of land. That is, in terms of the ownership, is owned by government, but it's suitable for human settlement and is transferred by government to human settlement so that we can fulfill this responsibility. Another barrier to the development of social housing is access to finance, especially for Black businesses. Social housing is financed with a combination of government funding, debt, and equity, making this subsector more dynamic and attractive for public-private partnership. The National Housing Finance Corporation is in the process of conceptualizing an off-balance sheet multi-investor fund to serve as a platform to mobilize private sector investors to equity investment and debt financing of integrated residential development program projects to meet requirements of the future pipeline. The establishment of the Human Settlement Development Bank will ensure that we achieve the objective of co-partnership and transformation in the social housing subsector. So this is the work that we are doing to move the National Housing Finance Corporation as an entity to moving it to becoming a human settlements development bank. And we believe that this will actually create more opportunities and assist us in meeting this objective. To this end, the Social Housing Regulatory Authority partnered with the Infrastructure Fund to develop 6 new social housing projects from transformed delivery agent with an allocation of 305 million over the next 2 years. The Department of Human Settlement has finalized the drafting of the bill on the establishment of the bank. We are currently in consultation with the relevant stakeholders, which includes the National Treasury and the South African Reserve Bank, on the issue of the capitalization of the bank. On the side of the Property Practitioners Regulatory Authority, which came to effect on the 1st of February, replacing the Estate Agency Affairs Board, the PPRA has got an expanded mandate that covers property practitioners in the value chain, which requires extensive stakeholder management. The entity is expected to establish a transformational fund that will be used to empower historically disadvantaged property practitioners. This intervention will cover areas such as training and consumer awareness. Women-owned businesses and Black women-led enterprises operating in the build sector are largely underrepresented and significantly lag behind their male-owned businesses counterparts. This is demonstrated by the significantly reduced presence of productive female-owned businesses competing in this sector. Many women-owned businesses struggle to break out of the small and medium-sized enterprises ceiling. To break this cycle, the department has developed a nation sector-wide programmatic approach on sector sites for provinces, metropolitan municipalities, accredited municipalities for human settlements grant. The approach dictates that there should be a 40% set aside for women, depending on provincial demographics, including above 15% of youth due to the high unemployment rate in the country, and then 5% for military veterans and 5% for people with disabilities. We do believe, as the Department of Human Settlements, that collectively these initiatives, amongst others, can significantly alter our trajectory to move towards transformed human settlements. The economic devastation of COVID-19 pandemic also gave an opportunity to relook at our economy anew. Hence, the Economic Reconstruction and Recovery Plan was conceived cognizant of the need of the structural transformation of our economy so that it is responsive to the needs of all South Africans. As we celebrate the Mandela Month, let us heed his call for us as a country to embrace transformation. In a speech delivered at the Options for Building an Economic Future Conference, convened by the Consultative Business Movement and attended by South African Businesses Executive in 1990. Dr. Madiba said the following, amongst other things, as I quote, "We need transformation in the economic sphere. You as businessmen and women have the obligation to engage in this process. We hope that you are able to abandon old ideas and think about the future in new terms. Once such ideas are born, we know that you will have the courage to act on them," unquote. These words are still as relevant today as at the time they were spoken. I want to make the same call to you all today. Let us abandon old ideas and think about the future in new terms. I too know that you have the courage to act and act decisively in advancing an inclusive South African economy. I thank you.
And of course, a very big thank you to Minister Mmamoloko Traifosa-Kubayi for joining us this morning and giving us her insights. Now it's come to that part of the morning where we come to our keynote address, and I'm really excited for this speaker coming up. Dr. Matthews Phosa will be speaking to us, broaching a very important and tough subject, I must say, and it is post-liberation. Is the government setting business up for failure? Now, of course, to give you some context, Dr. Matthews Phosa is an attorney by profession, is a leading figure in South Africa's business and political world. Dr. Phosa opened the first black law practice in Nelspruit in 1981, and he also worked as a partner until 1985 when he was forced into exile. While there, he underwent political training, after which he became the regional commander for Umkhonto weSizwe, the MK, and then the military wing of the ANC. He was one of 4 ANC members who were sent back to South Africa in 1990 in order to start the negotiation process with the former government, where he played a prominent role in the processes to establish a powerful transition to a fully democratic South Africa. Dr. Phosa was appointed the first premier of Mpumalanga province in 1994 by the late President Mr. Nelson Mandela. And following the elections in 1999, he resigned a seat in Parliament in favor of focusing his attention on his career in business. Now, Dr. Phosa re-entered the political arena in 2007 when he was elected Treasurer General of the ANC. And of course, that ran up until December of 2012. We do know that Dr. Phosa is chairperson of Special Olympics South Africa, as well as the Inibos Arts Festival. He's a prolific author who speaks 9 languages, and has 2 anthologies in Afrikaans poetry, some of which have been prescribed in the school curriculum for our national matric syllabus. Dr. Phosa launched an English anthology called Chance of Freedom. That was in 2015, and I'm told Dr. Phosa is currently writing 2 books on the history of South Africa. Who better this morning than Dr. Matthews Phosa to speak to us and tackle the subject matter of whether or not post-liberation the South African government is setting business up for failure. Welcome, Dr. Phosa.
Thank you, Mr. Fletcher, and your whole Topco staff for inviting me this morning to participate in this very important conference. You've given me a very awkward topic, and I hope that I'll be able to do justice to it. If you look at the period post-94, it would be fair to say that government has not created the necessary conditions needed for business to flourish in. Business flourish in conditions where there's policy certainty, there's clean government, and maximum support for emerging entrepreneurs. My party has not yet created these conditions, and it is fairly certain that it is one of the factors that will cost us dearly, like it has already done so in the previous elections, and it will do so in the next elections. Add to the above the cancer of institutionalized corruption and tardiness to respond to changing economic circumstances, and a worrying picture emerges of a regime insensitive to those who boost its taxes. A business person says, I pay my tax, and you steal my money. It's a bad feeling. I pay my tax, use my money profitably, it's a good feeling. One of the ways in which an ever-growing state protects itself is through regulations. Tragically, we are in a state of over-regulation and bureaucratic insensitivity of business who need flat-footed support and incentives. In addition, we are faced with irregular power supply due to the criminal mismanagement of Eskom, as well as an aging infrastructure. And no amount of excuses and explanations are going to wash away the discomfort and the pain of the nation about these power shortages. The issue of constant and sustainable power supply is a perfect case in point. Whilst we have been dithering about the necessity for alternative sources of energy, such as renewables, our country and its businesses have been plunged into darkness, literally darkness, where, for instance, an abundance of sun, an abundance of wind, yet we have only grudgingly allowed entrepreneurs to enter this arena through the vehicle of IPPs. The proposal to fast-track second competing Eskom should, if funded and managed by the state, not be afforded any consideration. Government should not enter that space again. It has failed. It must allow other players to play alone or to play with it in partnership. The transition from a liberation movement to a majority government has been painful and, to put it mildly, rocky. You said, Master of Ceremonies, in your introductions, that I was one of those who walked that path and who also was honored to be one of the founding fathers to write the Constitution. Some of the things happening today, I want to put this clear, are not what we fought for. They are the opposite of what we fought for, and we feel betrayed. We have not made the leap from energetic policy formulators and debaters to swift, active, engaged service delivery champions. The biggest challenge facing us is that of fearless, people-driven leadership that understand that the current optics between the haves, in brackets government leaders, and the have-nots, the people, is a recipe for further unrest. Someone wanted to blame this and that. But poverty, unemployment are the ingredients for massive unrest and social upheaval. Our salvation, in my view, lies in strong leadership. I emphasize strong, decisive leadership, massive deregulation, and increased financial support of entrepreneurs, amongst others in the renewable energy sector. For some inexplicable reason, we seem unable to move beyond populism, racism, tribalism in our public discourse, and sometimes in practice. With contestation for leadership positions and control of resources heating up, regionalism has also now reared its ugly head. The time is now for leaders of principle and moral steel to stand up and say enough is enough. Let's, without empty populistic fanfare, address the needs of those who deserve our attention. Leaders tainted by their actions should just step aside, even if only temporarily, and let 7 leaders show the way. This principle should not be one that is for selected few, but for all. But for all who fall into the definition as per our conference decisions. People should learn to fall on their swords when they wrong the public trust. People cannot eat words nor find shelter in announcements. It is time to deliver, to build. It is time to restore and heal. It is time to reconcile. It is time to create hope for the nation, hope for the future. The continued failure to do so and the recreation of the voters were clearly illustrated in the downward decline of the ANC at local government elections. The beloved country is crying out for fearless leadership, illustrated by actions and understanding that the engine of growth has always been and will always be business. We have limited opportunity to illustrate that we understand our diminishing mandate to create a better life for all, which we promised, which is entrenched in our Constitution. We are mandated to create a better life for all. Those who do not understand the urgent demands of today and the urgent demand of tomorrow should create space for those who love our country and who love our people and who want to make a difference in our lives. Let me conclude by quoting one of my favorite poems by one of my mentors, the now late Bradon Matera, which reads as follows. Sometimes I feel old anger welling up, exhorting me to blind the mocking, forgetful eyes of history. Check the deep, stagnant heart of the unseeable, shake the indifference throne of the unmovable, ask why. The gloating bane of avarice now abides among the newly freed. Why the once stilled faces of a heroic stalwarts glows with the fat of greed? Ask why. Comradeship and trust must die for power, position, and pomp to satisfy, to falsify the noble object of struggle. 2. And substantiate for a golden penny to comfort privilege of the few against comfort privilege of the few against the misery of the many. These are the words of the late Don Matera. How prophetic. Thank you very much.
Well, Dr. Posa, thank you for those words this morning. Straightforward and to the point. I think probably the kinds of conversations that we don't have in simple language, without the jargon, without the political speak, as often as we ought to. What I'm curious about is, as you make this analysis, what you took into consideration and that kind of, you use some really galvanizing and energizing words. The fact that we need a government and policymakers that are alert and alive to the fact that the situation is dire, the situation is urgent. But within that analysis, what have you taken into consideration? What's it going to take for the needle to move to get us to that point? As you say, the masses cannot be beholden to the comfort of a few.
Well, we are a democratic state. And the voters from time to time have the opportunity to decide who must be in power, who must not be in power. And even then, in what ratios we should each be in power. I see a massive change and shift of power in the next elections.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be dramatic. People are tired of being unemployed. They're tired of being in darkness. It reaches every home, every squatter camp, and every corner of our country. Factories are being affected. We'll soon start losing jobs. The economy will be affected. It will start crumbling unless we resolve the fundamental problems I've referred to. It's going to take radical change of leadership and bringing in of leadership which can be decisive. Leadership must take decisions. In the history of governance, if you look at the Constitution of the US as well, of the founding father, they talk about decisive executive government. We don't have that in South Africa, and I'm very sorry. We need that.
Beyond the decisiveness, the Zondo Commission grapples with the matter of cadre deployment, but we also know that unfortunately the vast majority of our municipalities are in a state of disrepair. So it's trickled down from national right down to local level. How do we fix that and ensure that the right skills are in the right positions? Because the decisiveness may be there, it's the skills, moreover, that we need as well.
I agree with you 100%. You're not going to allow me as a wheelbarrow pusher to fly an aeroplane. I'm likely to fly into a Shebeen or something.
Sure.
Yeah, so we need people who have certain skills for certain jobs. And we should not have eyes when it comes to that. It does not matter whether you're black or white or you have DA or ANC. We need the right candidates. We've now moved on more than 20 years. We need to come and say, who are the best South Africans to take us forward? Right? You're not going to tell me because I'm not wearing a black, green, and gold or yellow or blue shirt, I cannot get a job in Western Cape or in Eastern Cape. I must get a job because I qualify for a job. The country must move on to the next phase.
So the call that you're essentially making is for citizens to look beyond the partisan,
yes,
firstly,
yes,
the racialized,
yes,
and look for skills,
yes,
look for competence.
Yes, and I've attacked tribalism. And in that case, I'm talking about us black people discriminating against one another. I've attacked regionalism. Some people say because you don't come from Limpopo or Mpumalanga, you can't work there. It's rubbish. You're a South African. You should be entitled to work where your skills are needed. Yes.
All right. Well, tough conversations, lots of introspection that is needed. Beyond introspection, actual movement, action. On this platform, what we are also engaging with is the terrain within which business people, entrepreneurs have to operate within. We've seen many calls for the private sector to come to the party, to work with government, to establish or stay within public-private partnerships. How do entrepreneurs keep on doing that, or business still do that, knowing that this engagement is actually going to happen in good faith? How does the sector come to the party and ensure that an environment is actually created in which they can thrive?
I think the government's function is to create that environment. The environment with less regulations, no corruption, very pro-business. Because if it's not pro-business, what will make me invest here if I'm sitting in America or Russia? I don't want to come and invest there because you're going to steal my money. You won't allow me to take out dividends or profits. So you should have a very friendly environment which allows business to invest and be business, and therefore create more jobs. The government should bridge the gap between itself and private sector. We must work together. We must see each other as partners. We all have a role to play. Business cannot do it alone. Government cannot do it alone. But business is business. Government should not try and be business. It's not going to work.
Okay.
That's why your SOEs are crumbling like this.
Well, I hear what you're saying. At the same time, you have economists and an economic advisor to our president, Marianne Mazzucato, whose own theory, when it comes to the job of business, or the function of government, saying things like, actually, in many ways, government should start to reimagine itself, not to try to replace business or entrepreneurs, but to actually start to think of itself as more than just an enabler of an environment in which business can thrive, but perhaps as a partner in research, in development, in innovation as well. Do you think that South African politicians and those in government are ready to start thinking along those lines and imagining themselves as people that foster innovation and research and development?
No, the one does not exclude the other. We should deal with fundamentals. Business is business, government is government. They must meet somewhere and complement one another. All this is about government supporting innovation. The government will tell you, we're supporting MESITA, we're supporting ICTA, we're supporting all these things, right?
Yeah.
Which is all good. Give government credit on those things. But government must not be tied to be business. Business, it must be allowed to be business. And business must create jobs. Economies grow because of business, not because of government.
Sure. So I guess my final question to you then is this. When you talk about too much red tape and too much regulation, can you just give us a grab bag of certain regulations, all that kind of red tape that we need to do away with immediate effect? Of course, we're having this conversation in the context of a post-COVID lockdown, in the context of those July 2021 riots and looting that happened across the country. And of course, as we talk about continuously as South Africans, state capture and all the losses that took place because of that. What needs to be done away with immediately?
We must learn from the experience of the exposure of state capture and stop corruption and stop it immediately, whether in public sector or in private sector or in collusion of private sector and public sector, which was very predominant from the reports. You know, the thieves came from both sides and they tangled together and stole our money. But irrespective of the riots or the COVID, the rules remain. We must do the things right and do them right. Make sure that the economy grows and the space is created for business to grow. Remove the regulation. If you take, for example, the mining sector, where I'm very much involved,
Sure.
it takes you 90 days to get the water use license.
Okay.
When do you open your coal mine? You know, the investor said, but we have to wait for 90 days. You understand? How long does it take anyone to register a company in South Africa? Go to Burundi, go to UAE. You register a company in a day. In South Africa, it takes so long to register a company. So it means you're delaying the time of investment, the time of wealth creation, the time of job creation. We must cut all that red tape. We must be able to register a company in a day, and start trading.
All right. I promised that was my final question to you, but perhaps since you've mentioned the DMRE, the Department of Minerals and Resources, a particular, I guess, call to action on their part. You mentioned quite a lot within your presentation, the matter of energy poverty, first of all, in South Africa, and our electricity crisis. What then are your final words when it comes to those in the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources?
We not only them, all of us in South Africa must work together. Whether you are in housing or minerals and energy or wherever you are, let's work together. But let's agree there's one nation, there's one country, there's one economy. Let's grow this economy and create one wealth and create millions of jobs. We owe it to the poor. Being unemployed is humiliating. So we must bring the dignity to the people, all of us, in all sectors.
Dr. Matthews-Phosa, thank you so much for your time this morning. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. And call to action there, invigorating all of us. And And a big thank you once again to Dr. Matthews-Phosa for that insightful and informative talk, but most importantly, that call for unity of purpose and action. Now, moving over to our first panel for today, we're going to be taking a look at how an innovative green transition can and must create economic opportunities for all South Africans. This is moderated by Umanda Rashaka, who's a strategic specialist in sustainability at Nedbank. Over to you, Manda.
What made me start farming, it's my parents. We used to farm at home. I saw it as an opportunity whereby I can make a living out of it. You can imagine a young girl from a rural area not having any idea about how can I grow in this institution.
One is a deep rural area. There are lack of job opportunities. We started Buhle Farmers Academy because we wanted to develop farmers and also to start farming businesses where people can live out of farming.
Buhle trains us and we got all the skills, all the information. They gave us all the support that we needed.
For these projects to take place, it needs to be funded. The Nedbank has done that. This funding that coming from Nedbank was for the farmers in terms of grants for them to buy inputs and to start. So we have seen that growth that they wouldn't have reached if there was no partnership with Nedbank.
Creating jobs, it was one of the dreams that I wanted to develop.
We have seen almost 336 jobs created for one person in a rural village, usually support about 5 or more people. It means more than 1,200 people are sleeping with their stomachs full.